He started cutting both the payouts and the accounts. My head cleared up, so to speak. But I didn't understand anything. I thought maybe he was up to something shady, some kind of schemes, I don't know.
Which prop firms did you trade with before, and why did you leave them?
When the whole world is going crazy, you can still make money. And of course, you can do this from anywhere in the world.
You have about 4 years of experience. What kind of trading strategy have you developed over these 4 years?
I took a 25K account, and right after that, I blew it too. I don't know, I didn't trade for about 2 months.
Most likely, the same thing happened to you too. In today's interview with a funded Upscale trader, it was mentioned that the account was gifted to the person. And from that account, he made about $500. As always, I'm Igor Fott. You're on the Upscale channel. And here, with the help of prop trading, you can maximize your trading potential and, accordingly, your results. In the interview, we'll break down the guest trading strategy, how he got into prop trading, and his overall opinion about all of this. Let's go. How many withdrawals have you made on Upscale, and what was the total amount?
I've made 2 withdrawals on Upscale. By the way, that's the account that was actually gifted to me. And a withdrawal of $450, somewhere around $450 to $460.
Who liked you so much that they gave you their account as a gift?
I became friends with someone through in a free trading chat. He just liked the way I analyzed charts. I would post there, share my ideas, and he messaged me. We just started chatting, and I basically helped him, well, made it easier for him to get into trading. He was just starting out. So after, I don't know, a couple of months or so, we still text each other sometimes, like, how are you? How's it going? And then he just says, go to Upscale, go here, and send me the address where the money needs to be transferred. I didn't understand anything. I thought maybe he was up to something, some kind of scheme. I don't know. I sent it to him, and he just says, this is for you, bro. Thanks for your help, for saving me a ton of time. I
This is the first time I've heard a story like this in our interviews. Yeah, and honestly, it's the first time I've ever heard anything like this at all. What were your overall impressions? Did you know about props before, or were you like, what is this even about, man? Where'd you even send me, man?
Yeah, I knew about prop firms. I tried a lot of different ones, heard about Upscale, but since I already switched to trading my own account, I kind of put prop firms aside for my own reasons. There are just so many of them now. It's gotten harder with the classic prop firms, let's put it that way. And basically, he just pushed me to get involved. Yeah, I'd heard about Upscale, I just never used it. Basically, he pushed me to dive deeper into your prop firm.
So, which prop firms did you trade with before, and why did you leave them?
It started with FTMO. I also traded on Funding Pips, Audacity Capital, and 5 years. I had another account too.
So, why did you leave?
Well, because it's hard to follow the rules these days. And since I was moving, let's just say I had problems with KYC, problems confirming my address, and as a result, a lot of prop firms started, and judging by the news and people's comments, they started cutting payouts and closing accounts. In other words, they're making life harder for traders, coming up with new and more rules all the time. So I thought it's not healthy to constantly keep track of all that. It's pretty tough. So I stepped away from it.
No, I've heard about that too. Actually, it's not just that I've heard about it, I know about it. A lot of our guys have gotten caught up in this situation. And for those who are watching us for the first time, there's no OSI on Upscale. You can follow the first link in the description and check for yourself. So let's actually get to know you, because right now I'm just talking to some Elvis Presley avatar. That's all great and wonderful, but tell us about yourself in about a minute. How old are you? What's your name? And how did you get into trading?
My name is Vladimir. I'm 29 years old, currently living in Belarus, but I'm originally from Russia, from the city of Perm. I got into trading around 2022. It was springtime. I don't know. I just started coming across it more often. News about cryptocurrency and all that stuff. And I started to dig deeper into the topic, watching and figuring out what's what and where to go. I downloaded my first exchange. I think it was Binance. And gradually I started trying it out, making some purchases. At first, it was just from an investment perspective, but then I started looking at the charts. Somehow, it really drew me in.
Why'd you decide to stay? Like, what motivates you? It's not just a pretty picture, right?
Obviously, it's a kind of independence. You're not affected by global upheavals. Even if you take something like COVID, you could still, because before this, I had my own business and it was in the food service industry. And so basically, when COVID started, I just had to stop for a year and a half. Well, about a year. There was no way to keep going. I guess I was too law abiding, so we didn't open or anything. And so you just sit at home twiddling your thumbs. And for example, even in situations like that, when the whole world is going crazy, you can still make money. And of course, you can do this from anywhere in the world. You can trade anything you want, meaning the market will always be there. The market's been around for a long time. So for me, it was both financially attractive and offered a sense of freedom. Yeah, you're not dependent on anyone, not dependent on politicians, and all of that as a whole was appealing to me.
So it turns out you have about 4 years of experience. Let's take a look at what kind of trading strategy you've developed over these 4 years.
At first, well, I started trading like everyone else, probably, trying to draw levels. So basically, technical analysis, as they call it, looking for patterns like flags and triangles, all those things. And honestly, I spent a long time on that until I discovered the smart money trading concept. It's called, well, the guys from the NGS Society, they adapted it pretty well. Originally, it came from an American trader, ICT. So basically, they refined it, finished it, translated everything, and overall, I started to dive deeper into this topic. And at the same time, I was trying out everything else too. I mean, especially when you're having setbacks, you even start downloading Tiger Trade, trying to do something with the order book. There was a lot. And so I was trading, I started out trying crypto, and then at some point I found out about prop firms. And it turns out that most of them, even if you take FTM for example, I'm not sure how much crypto they had back then, or maybe they just had Bitcoin and Ethereum, but they had the traditional market there. So basically, I kind of reprofiled myself, started looking into it anyway, and it started to work out. I thought maybe it would work here too, and I started applying, let's say, the concepts and techniques I had developed, basically everything I knew about the market, and tried to use that in the traditional market. And overall, it paid off. In my opinion, it moves more technically, and basically, smart money, smart money, smart money. But of course, when you start drawing all sorts of order blocks, all the imbalances and everything else, there are just too many of them, and you start to get confused. So, as usual, it turns into a mess right away. You start using everything at once. And that was tough too. But then, literally, I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago, maybe two, about a year and a half, I came across a trader named Alex FX. I recommend him to everyone. He trades using top down analysis, which is basically a type of smart money approach. In fact, everyone trades it in some way. I can explain the same thing now. For example, the way I trade, I can explain it even from a technical perspective. Even though I don't know how Jurchik trades or however else you could explain it, but he somehow managed to structure everything in my head and the confusion disappeared, so to speak. And as a result, now I use combinations. I don't just trade according to his method. For example, with his method, Bitcoin and crypto work well for me. You can see that. His strategy, which I basically use, is about moving from the higher time frame to the lower one. You don't jump from the daily chart to the hourly or from the hourly to the 15-minute chart. So everything's done exactly gradually, basically, just start trading, for example, weekly charts in oil. It's important to understand that, let's say, you have your main narrative. For example, on the daily chart, you move to the 4 hour chart, look for confirmation, and then say you enter looking for a setup, basically three time frames. That's enough in general to open trades. And the main thing is not to jump from, say, oil to the 15-minute chart and try. So if you've reached the daily balance, you shouldn't jump to the 5 minute chart and try to reverse the price. And for example, if you trade like this, you use several tools. There are tools like imbalance, SNR. It's something like an order block. So, for example, if we have a movement like this, someone might highlight, say, an order block, maybe like this, but here you take the whole thing, this whole movement right here. So you just take it entirely. You take this kind of SNR. So basically, all of these are, roughly speaking, zones of interest. People draw them however they want, with arrows and so on. It's a zone from which, for example, we might try to short. Of course, when, for example, the price gets here, and let's say regarding that, in this situation with Bitcoin, I ended up not trading Bitcoin for now. I took a bit of a loss on my account. So for now, I'm just doing things on paper, just drawing things out because I'm not really entering trades. I decided to give myself a break. We'll talk about this year a bit later. So, for example, there's also a concept called the dealing range. This is when you take two fractals. Well, the movement goes like this, swings, as some people call them, whatever you want to call it. So we have one fractal, usually a three candle one, then a second fractal, and the area between them is the dealing range. And accordingly, when we reach the zero point 0.5 level, that's actually a pretty good zone where you can start looking for opportunities. Specifically in this case, this is the daily time frame, right? Here, we've completely filled the imbalance. And then, after we've done this on the daily chart, basically, once we understand that from here we can start watching for some kind of reaction, we observe what the price does to look for a continuation to the downside. So we can move on to the next time frame, which is 4 hours. Accordingly, here you can turn it off. Sessions aren't important here. Next, on the 4 hour chart, we need some kind of confirmation, meaning volume confirmation. Volume confirmation is actually one of three things: ejection block, imbalance, yes, FWG or SNR. So in our case, there was an SNR here. In fact, it formed on the 4 hour chart. This whole area here, it's all 4 hour SNR. SNR. And accordingly, when the price broke out, meaning it formed, we came back here again. At this point, we can start looking further, digging deeper if we want, though you could spend a lot of time on that. But the point is, there is some kind of key area, a base, right? And from there, we start trying to move. We also have various things here. There's also an imbalance on the 4 hour chart, so we can use that as a reference point as well. Exactly. So basically, the price moved from there, meaning you could have tried to jump in, something like that. You could pull your stop from the nearest fractal and really dig into it for a long time if you wanted. But roughly speaking, it's from point A to point B, from one liquidity area to another. That's what everyone talks about. Probably, yeah, but let's say, for example, on the 4 hour chart, we have a zone with NAR. And from there, we can move further. So again, we switch to the 1 hour chart, and on the hourly, we can also analyze it. So, roughly speaking, within the scenario, on the hourly, we need to see some kind of confirmation. And here it was. Basically, we entered here, got a reaction, and we have volume confirmation. Also, here's a sonar on the clean chart. Or you could take it a bit lower here, whichever way you want. You could have entered either way, or entered at the close of this candle with a stop above this high. Yeah, so, well, obviously, it might not be super exciting here, but still, if someone trades 1 to 1, why not? Or, I don't know, you could just wait, skip this situation, wait for a deeper correction, and then enter in the direction of the trend. And of course, you always need to have a target. That is, we need to understand where we're aiming for, where we're going to take this. Because if you enter, say, on the hourly chart and try to hold it all the way over here, yeah, that's pretty far, maybe too far. You need to understand that it all depends on your trading strategy. Personally, I usually try, though it doesn't always work out, let's be honest, but I try to go for a 1 to 2 ratio to take profits accordingly. If I see that the potential is much higher, I have to stop myself from getting greedy. It's better to take a 1 to 2 ratio than to wait for 1 to 3 or 1 to 4. Otherwise, you end up taking a loss or just breaking even, and that's the most painful outcome. That's why you really have to work on managing your emotions here. When it comes to classic Forex trading, I do things a bit differently, but overall, the logic's pretty much the same. There are general zones. I usually don't go down to the daily chart. I mostly trade Forex intraday. Here, I use, let's say, more of the dealing cringe I just mentioned. And
Probably trading sessions too, right?
yes, yes, definitely trading sessions. Here, I use a session indicator. I'm interested. I usually enter the market. I also have other work going on in parallel, and trading isn't my main occupation. I'm still at the stage of building up my capital, so to speak, so that's how it is. Since my job is remote, I'm basically always at home in front of the computer anyway. And accordingly, I'm in Frankfurt. So my workday starts right when Frankfurt opens. I log in and start looking at how Asia performed, what the previous day was like, and how the day closed. But overall, it all comes down to the fact that with currencies, you can approach it like this. Basically, for example, today, by the way, there was a good short today, just like in the currency market. Basically, we have the previous day, and for example, I take the high of the previous day. And then let's say I take the low of Asia, pinpointing our situation to the low of Asia that was set, and accordingly, we can see ourselves there. The same kind of dealing forms, and accordingly, right here, we have a reaction.
Yeah, it goes right to 5.
Yeah. So, well, here, from this point, it could also reverse, right? We have an hourly SNR. So, well, we need to look for some confirmations. Obviously, there are things working against us too. There's an imbalance and all that. But on a global scale, yeah, globally speaking, we've reached the zero point 0.5 level, meaning from the previous day's dealing and also from Asia, that is, the current session. And then, since if I were to try to enter here, somewhere around here like this, right, I could just end up sitting and waiting. Considering that it's already Friday evening, I probably wouldn't enter anymore. So I usually don't trade the first or last session, meaning I don't do it in the classic way. That is, the first session is the London session on Monday for 1 week, and the last session is the New York session on Friday. I don't trade because there's already little liquidity and volatility, so overall, there's a lot of manipulation on Mondays, and I try to skip those days, just in general. And of course, the days with red news, the high impact news you see on Forex Factory, I skip those too. I don't trade on those days. And even if the news is, say, in the evening, like the Fed rate decisions, meaning New York before the news, I try to avoid trading then as well. On those days, I also avoid entering trades because usually London will be low volatility, just moving sideways, and honestly, nothing interesting happens. In this particular situation, there's really no point in taking such a trade. In theory, you could take this setup, yes, but then you need to lower your expectations, meaning either enter with less risk or adjust your approach somehow. But I don't know, maybe take a shorter stop loss, right? But if it all seems too risky, I wouldn't take this trade at all. Or maybe just aim for a 1-to-1 risk reward. Because to start with, for that, we could switch, for example, to the 15-minute chart. Here, I'm already dropping down to the 5-minute chart. And here's the logic. So, what do we have? So, for example, we've taken out some liquidity. Yeah, we've taken out the session, we've taken out the Asian high, and in London, we've also taken it out. London. So, if the first 2 hours didn't give us anything, roughly speaking, this move is hard to even call a liquidity grab. On some brokers, it was taken out, on others, it wasn't. So, it's not entirely clear. Here, the liquidity grab already happened during lunch and at the New York session, so there's no point in opening a position here either. Usually, you should try to open trades at the start of a session or at the transition, like at the London Open or the New York Open. And right here, for example, there was just such a situation. Well, I don't know, of course, whether it will reach or not, but let's say, for example, this is how we do it. Here we have some kind of fractal. This completely matches the zero point 0.5 level of the overall daily dealing range, and here, accordingly, this is already me. Let's put it this way. This kind of life hack, a strategy I've developed, gives about a 50% win rate overall. So if everything goes well, everything matches up, but there are still quite a lot of losses. With this strategy, the drawdowns can be significant. You can catch some decent profits with it, but still, there's that 50% win rate, and overall, you can take profits. Basically, I take the last swing that took out this liquidity, or more precisely, the last dealing range that took out this liquidity. And accordingly, when the price drops below zero point 0.5 and consolidates there, and we have some kind of volume confirmation, most of the time I only look at imbalances. In this case, we also have an inverted imbalance. So accordingly, we can also, since we consolidated on this candle, it closed somewhere around here, and then the move started, you could, in theory, enter somewhere around here. And so if this had happened during the London session, I would have taken that tray. Just let it run. I recommend no more than 12. It might get close today, but during the London session, you could definitely take this excellent setup. But on a Friday evening during the New York session, especially with currency pairs, I wouldn't do that.
I'm not even surprised anymore that they gave you an account on Upscale. If you explain trading to that person just as thoroughly, really putting in the effort, then I think you definitely deserved it.
Well, you see, it's all pretty chaotic, but I don't know. That's basically the main idea. I recommend everyone, to watch all of AlexFX's videos. Maybe it'll help put some logic in your head.
Those of you watching us right now, you can write in the comments if you felt the same way. Vladimir's explanation was all over the place, everything I just listened to. But honestly, it was like butter for the soul, honey to my ears. I don't even know what expression to use here. I really liked it. Let's switch over to OB together. Skill, let's take a look at that gift account if it's still alive and show us the certificates.
Right now, I'm down about 7%. I tried to turn Bitcoin around when it was dropping, so that's why things don't look so great for me here right now. But I'm calm about it. I take it philosophically. We can talk about that separately later, too. And
This is the account that was given to you as a gift, right?
yeah, that's the funds account.
You can show the certificates, they're right there at the bottom. Yeah, so you went through it. Here's the first payout, and here's the second payout. Well, that's great. And how'd you get the second account?
I just bought it myself
Why'd you decide to buy?
because this account is in crypto. Back then, there wasn't the classic option yet when we were giving it away, so I wanted to have a plastic card here too. This is only the classic version, there's no crypto here.
Got it. So, when you first started learning Upskill, what caught your attention the most? Because you had experience with other prop firms. And I'm curious, what exactly hooked you in, Wafsk? Or,
I had to use it because, well, it was given to me as a gift. Why not? You have to take advantage of the opportunity, right? In the end, everything worked out. At the very least, I already received some payouts, got some kind of feedback, so to speak. But what I liked right away was that you can do all of this. First of all, you can do it all in Telegram, so you don't have any problems. No need to worry about logging in or your IP addresses. There's no KYC, so you have complete freedom to do whatever you want. And right away, the first thing, when you go into some prop firms, you start reading the Q&A. The first thing you always check is whether you can even do this with your citizenship or not. You start reading the news, and first you need to study all the rules. Only after that do you start trading, at least just to understand what you actually need to do so that in the end, you don't end up losing your account later. Here, I tried to find such a section. All I found was basically everyone just made money, and I realized that was more than enough. Super.
well, to put it simply, just follow the risk parameters, don't exploit vulnerabilities, and everything will be great for you. You were there in Audacity, FTM. Oh, for the file with funding pips, Upscale 55 about POV. You have that in your experience. What advice can you give to our viewers who are currently trading with a prop firm or are just thinking about starting? As always, the link is in the description. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. What advice can you give them to help ensure their success?
Well, probably. If you don't have a well tested trading strategy, there's really no point in joining a prop firm. And try to take prop firms a bit more lightly. For me, what helped was that when I switched to trading with my own money, basically, when you start out, you gradually begin to factor risk into each trade. Psychologically, it's easier to start with a certain amount. Like for me, I started with $20, $30, $40, $50. You just try it out. And if you feel comfortable, you realize you can handle, say, losing streaks. And eventually, after some time, a quarter, there's no point in calculating by the month, so we calculate quarterly. And I just started. It became easy for me. And then I looked at it and just thought, well, if I understand that I have a 10% drawdown, that's basically, if you risk 1% per trade, that's 10 stop losses. And I just, well, if the prop account costs $100, then your stop is $10. If you can, say, handle a $20 stop or $30 and you feel comfortable with that, then you can take a bigger one and try it out. But I recommend starting with small amounts just to try it out in general, and you'll get a small payout from a small account, even if it's just $5,000. Then you can buy a $10,000 account, then $25,000, and so on. And
That's how you get to a Lamborghini.
yeah, that's how you get to a Lamborghini. Because when I got my first funded account, it was with funding pips. So I got it, and I got it pretty quickly. It wasn't just luck, but I wouldn't say it was totally random either. No, it was a pretty conscious effort, but I managed to pass quickly, not because the market was giving, and so I got the funds. I thought, that's it, I've made it. I told everyone, showed everyone, just like that. So I blew it all in just about a week. Basically, tilt, really bad tilt. Right after that, I thought, well, I already know how to do this, so I took a $25,000 account and I blew that one too. Honestly, it was tough. After that, I didn't trade for like 2 months. So, really, there's absolutely no need to rush here. So, this isn't a race.
We figured out how it's more comfortable to trade on prop firms. Now let's figure out how not to blow your account on prop firms.
Set your risk level. So, if your risk per trade is 1%, you open trades at 1%. Don't change it. Don't try to mess with it. If you take a loss, don't try to immediately open a trade with double the risk to win it back. Don't try to instantly increase your risk, or you'll just end up with losses. You could hit your daily drawdown limit. How does it usually happen? You get a drawdown. The price turns around right after hitting your stop and goes the other way. So that's basically it. Don't change your risk. If you've chosen an account and you have a 1% risk, just stick to it. Don't jump between different risk levels, or you'll end up earning little and losing a lot.
Why should you get a prop account right now?
To increase your capital,
Interesting, interesting. And what'll that give you?
well, if you don't know how to trade and you don't have a well developed, precise trading strategy, then you probably shouldn't buy a $100 account. It's better to just, I don't know, put that money into your own account and try trading with your own funds. Maybe risk $5 or $2 per trade, to test things out. And if you already have one, then you can go for a prop account, and accordingly, you'll just move faster. You'll basically get, so to speak, leverage so that you can earn more.
You want. Before that, you got familiar with the skill, reached the fund, sent a withdrawal request, and experienced something. So during that period, while it was coming to
When I started trading, I thought, yeah, that's it. Now I'm going to get payouts. Somehow that really inspired me. I don't even know how to explain it. I just wanted it urgently, as soon as possible. But when you actually get a real payout and just hit send, I don't know, you feel completely calm. And so there weren't any unknowns, they were just emotions. I guess I was already like that.
reports with Cass, you did it. The money came in for withdrawal.
That's exactly when I got a payout. It was my wife's birthday, and we just went out and had a nice time at a restaurant.
So let's wrap it up. What's the secret to successful trading?
Probably. It's about keeping your head straight, staying cool headed without emotions. Because even with a well tested strategy, even after two or three payouts, it doesn't mean that you're already trading profitably or trading consistently. So everything happens gradually, and those payouts can actually cloud your judgment. Here, you always need to keep a cool head and not let your emotions take over you or your hands that want to jump into a trade.
On that wonderful note, I suggest we wrap things up. Like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, and don't forget to hit the bell. Eager Fox, you are on the Upscale channel. See you at the top.